Are you currently in a role, an industry, or even a company that you've been in for years? You haven't been happy for a number of those years, but you're having a really hard time figuring out where else your skills will be applicable to or what other kind of jobs you will enjoy. If that sounds like you, in today's video, I'm going to share with you some things you might have tried to make the situation better and why those haven't worked, and what the actual metric you need to be using to figure out your next career move is. So if that sounds like the kind of information you want to hear today, definitely stick around, hit the like and subscribe button so we can get into it. Hi, if this is your first time watching one of my videos, I'm Dr. Tega Edwin. I'm a career counselor and coach, and I help women who are unhappy at work get super clear about who they are so they can find a fulfilling career that allows them to thrive in their zone of genius, live on purpose, and get paid a value-aligned salary. Let's get into today's video. If you're like some of the women I've worked with who were in their jobs for 10, 12, 16 years before we worked together, there's a high chance that you're staying in that job you don't like because you're not sure how to discover a fulfilling career. So over your career, you haven't really had any glimpses into what other career paths you might actually like. You haven't had the chance to explore other opportunities. So now you're in a situation where you don't like your current job, but you've been there for so long, you don't know what other fields your skills apply to or where they're useful. And now you feel like you can't do anything else because you've been where you are for so long. And to make matters worse, you're also dealing with that fear of making another time-sucking mistake, right? Like the fear of making a transition and spending another 10 years feeling miserable. And so each time you think about or even go to make a change in your career, the question that rings so loudly in your head is, what if I do something else and it's just as bad as this job? So you turn to those short-term fixes that make you feel better outside of work, right? Maybe it's a book, a show, or a game to sort of escape the feeling of dread and demotivation you feel because of your job. Maybe it's brunch with the girls every Saturday. Or maybe you even apply to a few internal positions and you got the occasional promotion, you got a raise, which made you feel better for a few weeks or months. Or maybe you already know that the job and the company are the problem, right? Like, you know, you need to get out of there. So you work with a resume writer and she was great at polishing up your resume, gave you a confidence boost in your skills and your accomplishments. You even set up alerts on LinkedIn to notify you of other job opportunities as they come up. And all those alerts that you set on LinkedIn, they're all based on what you do now, because the only way you know how to articulate your skills and interests is based off of what you've been doing for years, which you already know that you don't like. So low key, you're not very optimistic about those alerts you set on LinkedIn. I mean, yes, you got your resume redone, but all that did was emphasize what you've been doing in your career, which you know you don't enjoy, without giving you clarity about where to go next. Same with the informational interviews you've done. You talk to a bunch of people about their job to try to get some new ideas, but they weren't really helpful in guiding you. Or even worse, some of them discouraged you from making a transition. So now here you are feeling like you're tired of this job you're in now, but wondering what exactly it is you would do instead, seeing as you've been in this role for so long. So let me tell you why your LinkedIn job alerts and resume writing haven't given you any direction. They're all based on your history, a history that you already know isn't working for you. Look, you've been in your industry for over 10 years. You've been unhappy for maybe 5 or so of those years. So using what you know is an unfulfilling history as the roadmap for your career future will only land you in positions that are similar to where you've been: unfulfilled, unmotivated, bored, and unimpactful. So one of my recent clients, had been feeling dissatisfied in her job and she tried to do something about it, right? She wanted to change the situation. So she applied to different positions in her industry, took on new tasks within her job, even negotiated her roles to be more expansive. And while she got more responsibility, she still felt dissatisfied because she couldn't fully express herself in her organization. She couldn't fully be present with her family because her work was super draining. The reason why my client was still unhappy, even after trying to take on more responsibility and grow her role to sort of ease her dissatisfaction, is because she was making moves based on her history. Is that sounding familiar? Is that ringing a bell for you? If you said yes, here's what I want you to know. Your job history is not the main metric for figuring out where you want to go next if you've been unhappy in that history. You are the metric you need to be using. So my client had to clarify her non-negotiable values, identify her zone of genius interest areas, not just from her past experiences, but from her life as a whole. She had to figure out what energized her and what skills she enjoys using. Once she clarified who she was in this season of her life, she was able to engage in intentional research of the opportunities that were available to her based on all that information. She identified 3 solid options, did more research while building her network, and is now actively working on her transition into a role she's, and I quote, feeling really good about. So I created an on-demand training that walks you through the exact framework that helped her shift from using her history as a benchmark for her next move and instead use herself as the benchmark. So if you're ready for that kind of shift into an aligned career path that makes you feel like you're living in purpose and doing meaningful work, just click the link wherever you're watching this video. So if you're on Instagram, it's the link in my bio. If you're on YouTube or LinkedIn, it's in the description. Click the link so that you can register and get immediate access to that on-demand training and start changing how you are approaching figuring out your next career move.